Hello, and welcome back to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and I am truly grateful that you have chosen to spend this time with me. Before we begin, I want you to do something for me. I want you to stop. Stop worrying about the vocabulary list you haven't memorized. Stop thinking about the grammar mistake you made yesterday. Just be here, right now. In this moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through your mouth. You are doing better than you think. I know that sometimes learning English feels like climbing a mountain in the fog. You are walking and walking, but because of the fog, you cannot see how high you have climbed. You feel like you are still at the bottom. You feel like you haven't moved. But today, I am here to clear the fog. I am here to show you the view. You have made progress. You are building a bridge, brick by brick, even if you cannot see the whole bridge yet. Today, we are going to explore this theme through a story. It is a story about a young woman named Sophia. Sophia is talented, hardworking, and full of dreams, just like you. But she is also full of doubt. She thinks her English is holding her back, but she is about to discover that her silence is the only real barrier. Throughout this story, we will pause to practice speaking. We will learn phrases to boost your confidence. We will learn how to trust the process. So, find a comfortable place, relax your mind, and let us step into Sophia's world. Our story begins early in the morning, before the sun has even risen. The city of Seattle was still asleep, covered in a blanket of gray mist. But inside a small, warm shop on the corner of 4th Street, there was life. This was the Morning Crumb, a popular bakery known for its delicious pastries and strong coffee. Sophia was there, as she was every morning at 4 a.m. Sophia was 26 years old. She had moved to the United States 2 years ago from a sunny coastal town in Spain. In her home country, she was a confident chef. She could shout orders in a kitchen, she could joke with customers, and she could explain complex recipes with ease. But here, in this new city, Sophia felt small. She felt quiet. She felt like a shadow of her former self. She worked as the assistant baker. She spent her mornings kneading dough, mixing flour, and carefully shaping croissants. She loved the work. She loved the smell of yeast and vanilla that filled the air. It was a language she understood perfectly. But she dreaded the moment the clock struck 7 a.m. That was when the customers arrived. That was when she had to speak English. Let us pause here for a moment and talk about that feeling of dread. Dread is a heavy fear that sits in your stomach. It is the feeling of knowing something difficult is coming. Have you ever felt dread before making a phone call in English? Or before ordering food? That is your brain trying to protect you from making a mistake. But we must teach our brains that mistakes are safe. Let us practice a positive affirmation to fight this dread. I want you to say this out loud, with strength in your voice. Repeat after me. I am capable of handling difficult situations. Try it again. I am capable of handling difficult situations. Very good. Now, let's try one more. My voice is worthy of being heard. Say it. My voice is worthy of being heard. Remember this as we watch Sophia work. On this particular Tuesday, the bakery was busier than usual. The rain was pouring down outside, so everyone wanted a warm place to hide. The little bell above the door jingled constantly. Sophia was behind the counter, arranging the blueberry muffins. Her manager, a tall, energetic man named Mr. Henderson, was shouting orders. Sophia, we need more dark roast coffee. Sophia, can you check the inventory on the milk? Sophia, hurry up with those bagels. Mr. Henderson was a nice man, but he spoke very fast. He spoke with a thick local accent that merged words together. He didn't say, "What are you doing?" He said, "What you doing?" He didn't say, "Do you want to go?" He said, "Wanna go?" For Sophia, listening to him was like trying to catch water with her hands. She understood the main words, coffee, milk, bagels, but the little connecting words were lost. She often just nodded and smiled, hoping she was doing the right thing. This is a common strategy called smiling and nodding, and I bet you have done it too. It is a survival mechanism, but deep down, it made Sophia feel like a fraud. She felt like an imposter. An imposter is someone who pretends to be someone they are not. Sophia felt that everyone else was a real English speaker, and she was just pretending. She thought that one day someone would point a finger at her and say, "Hey, you don't belong here. Your grammar is bad." This is called imposter syndrome. It is very common among B1 and B2 learners. You know enough to communicate, but you know enough to realize how much you don't know. You focus on the gap, not the bridge. As Sophia was wiping the counter, a regular customer walked in. His name was Arthur. Arthur was a retired history teacher. He walked slowly with a cane, and he always wore a tweed jacket that smelled like old books and rain. Arthur was Sophia's favorite customer because he spoke slowly. He enunciated every syllable. He approached the counter and smiled at Sophia. "Good morning, my dear," Arthur said. "It is rather frightful weather out there today, isn't it?" Sophia froze for a second. Frightful? She knew frightened meant scared. Did he mean the weather was scared? No, that didn't make sense. Her brain worked quickly, spinning like a computer processor. Context. Look at the window. It is raining hard. It is cold. He must mean the weather is bad or scary. She took a breath and replied, "Yes, Mr. Arthur. Very much rain. It is not good." She winced internally. Very much rain sounded so basic. She wanted to say, "It is pouring down heavily," or "It is miserable outside." But the simple words were the only ones that came out. Arthur didn't mind. He smiled warmly. "Indeed, it is a day for staying indoors. I will have my usual, please, a plain scone and a black tea." Sophia nodded. "One scone, one tea. Coming right up." As she prepared the tea, she scolded herself in her head. "Why did I say, 'very much rain'? That is baby English. I have been here for 2 years. I should be better." Listen to that internal monologue. I should be better. I have been here for 2 years. Do you say these things to yourself? This is the progress trap. You compare your reality to an imaginary version of yourself who is perfect. You ignore the fact that 2 years ago, Sophia couldn't even understand scone or tea. She communicated successfully with Arthur. He understood her. She understood him. The goal was achieved. But Sophia could not see the success. She could only see the imperfection. Let us practice reframing this thought. Instead of saying, "My English is too simple," say, "My English is clear and effective." Repeat after me. My English is clear and effective. Again. My English is clear and effective. Simple is not bad. Simple is strong. Simple gets the job done. Later that morning, the rush hour began. A line of people formed out the door. This was Sophia's nightmare. When people are in a rush, they are less patient. They speak faster. A woman in a business suit stepped up to the counter. She was looking at her phone and typing furiously. She didn't even look at Sophia. "Yeah, give me a skinny latte, extra hot, no foam, and a bear claw, but heat it up for 20 seconds, okay?" She said it all in one breath, without looking up. Sophia's heart started to race. Skinny latte? Bear claw? She knew a bear claw was a type of pastry, but skinny? Did that mean small? Or low fat? And no foam? She panicked. She looked at the espresso machine. She looked back at the woman. "I am sorry," Sophia said softly. "Can you repeat?" The woman sighed loudly. She rolled her eyes and looked up from her phone. "A skinny latte, non-fat milk, and a bear claw, heated up." The woman spoke slowly now, but in an annoyed tone. Sophia felt her face get hot. She felt the blush rising up her neck. She quickly tapped the order into the register. "Okay, $6, please." Sophia made the coffee. Her hands were shaking slightly. She gave the woman her order. The woman grabbed it and left without saying, "Thank you." Sophia wanted to cry. She felt small. She felt stupid. She thought, "I ruined her morning. I am too slow. I will never be fluent enough for this." She went to the back of the kitchen to get more flour, just to hide for a minute. She leaned her head against the cool metal of the refrigerator. This moment is crucial. We have all had a rude customer moment, or a moment where someone made us feel inadequate. But here is the truth. The woman's rudeness was not about Sophia's English. The woman was stressed. The woman was rude. That is a reflection of her, not Sophia. But because Sophia is insecure about her English, she took the blame. She internalized it. Let us practice a phrase for resilience. Resilience means the ability to bounce back after something bad happens. Repeat this phrase. I do not take things personally. Try it. I do not take things personally. And another one, I am doing my best. And that is enough. Say it with kindness toward yourself. I am doing my best. And that is enough. Sophia returned to the front. Mr. Henderson noticed she looked a bit sad. "Hey, Sophie," he said, using his nickname for her. "You doing okay? You seem a bit down in the dumps." Sophia heard "down in the dumps." She imagined a garbage dump. She realized it was an idiom for being sad. She forced a smile. "I am okay, Mr. Henderson. Just tired." She didn't want to explain. She didn't want to say, "I feel like a failure because I don't know what a skinny latte is." Mr. Henderson patted her on the shoulder. "Well, perk up. We have a big catering order for lunch. The lawyer's office downtown. They need 50 sandwiches and 50 cupcakes. I need you to handle the cupcakes. Decoration needs to be perfect." Sophia nodded. "I will do it." This was her comfort zone. Bacon, decorating, no talking, just sugar and butter and focus. She spent the next 2 hours working on the cupcakes. She made a beautiful buttercream frosting. She piped intricate swirls onto each cake. She topped them with tiny edible gold stars. They looked magnificent. While she worked, her mind quieted down. She listened to the radio playing in the kitchen. It was a talk show. She realized she was understanding most of it. They were talking about traffic on the I-5 bridge. They were joking about a movie. Sophia laughed at one of the jokes. She stopped piping. Wait, she had just laughed at a joke in English. A joke she heard on the radio. 2 years ago, the radio sounded like just noise. Now, she could extract humor from it. This was a huge victory. This was the bridge she was building. But did she celebrate? No. She immediately thought, well, it was an easy joke. Anyone would understand it. Why do we do this? Why do we minimize our victories? When we don't understand, we beat ourselves up. When we do understand, we say, "It was too easy." We must stop moving the finish line. If you understand something today that you didn't understand last year, that is growth. Period. You need to learn to catch these moments and hold them. You need to say, "Wow, I did that." Let's practice celebrating. I want you to think of one thing you learned recently. Maybe a new word. Maybe you understood a song lyric. Think of it. Now say, "I am proud of my progress." Say it louder. I am proud of my progress. Lunchtime arrived. Mr. Henderson was running around like a chicken with its head cut off. "Sophia, the delivery driver is stuck in traffic. He won't be here for 20 minutes. But the lawyers need the food in 10 minutes. It's only 3 blocks away. Can you run it over there?" Sophia's eyes went wide. Run it over there? To the lawyer's office? That meant entering a big building, speaking to a receptionist, delivering the food, speaking English. Alone. "Me?" she squeaked. "Yes, you. Please, Sophie. I can't leave the shop. It's too busy. You are the only one." He looked desperate. Sophia looked at the boxes of beautiful cupcakes. She looked at Mr. Henderson. She knew she couldn't say no. She took a deep breath. "Okay, I will go." She took off her apron. She smoothed down her hair. She picked up the heavy boxes. She stepped out into the rain. The city was loud. Cars were honking. Sirens were wailing. Sophia walked quickly. She practiced her script in her head. "Hello, I have a delivery for the law office." "Hello, delivery for the law office." It seemed simple. She could do this. She arrived at the building. It was a tall glass skyscraper. It looked intimidating. She pushed through the revolving doors and walked to the security desk. A stern-looking guard sat there. "ID," he grunted. Sophia put the boxes down on a bench and fumbled for her ID in her pocket. She showed it to him. "Where are you going?" he asked. The lawyers," Sophia said. "Which firm?" the guard asked. Sophia froze. Which firm? She didn't know the name. Mr. Henderson just said, "The lawyer's office." She assumed there was only one. She looked at the directory on the wall. There were 5 different law firms in this building. Panic. Cold. Icy panic. She pulled out her phone to call Mr. Henderson, but her hands were wet from the rain, and the screen wouldn't unlock. The guard was staring at her. "Miss, if you don't have a destination, you can't go up." People were waiting behind her. She felt the pressure building again. I am failing. I am failing. She wanted to grab the boxes and run back to the bakery. But then she remembered the cupcakes. She remembered how much time she spent making them perfect. She remembered the gold stars. She didn't want to let Mr. Henderson down. She didn't want to let herself down. She closed her eyes for 1 second. She remembered the affirmation, "I am capable of handling difficult situations." She looked at the guard. She didn't look at the floor. She looked him in the eye. She realized she had to use her English to solve the problem. She couldn't just memorize a script. She had to communicate. "Sir," she said, her voice shaking but audible, "I am from the Morning Crumb Bakery. My boss sent me. It is a lunch order. 50 sandwiches, 50 cupcakes. Do you know which office ordered lunch today?" The guard looked at her. He looked at the boxes. His face softened slightly. "Oh, Morning Crumb? Yeah, the firm on the 12th floor. Miller and Associates. They always order from you guys on Tuesdays." He typed something into his computer. "Miller and Associates, 12th floor. Go ahead." He printed a badge and handed it to her. Sophia took the badge. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "Thank you," she breathed. She picked up the boxes and walked to the elevator. She pressed the button for the 12th floor. As the doors closed, she leaned back against the wall and exhaled. She had done it. She didn't know the name, but she explained the context. She used clues. She asked a question. And it worked. This is a vital lesson in listening and speaking. You do not need to know everything. You just need to know how to ask for help. You need to trust that if you give people enough information, they will help you connect the dots. This is called strategic competence. It means using what you have to get what you need. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. She walked into a fancy lobby. A receptionist with a bright smile looked up. "Oh, the food! Thank goodness! We are starving!" The receptionist came around the desk to help Sophia with the boxes. "You are a lifesaver," the receptionist said. "We were worried it wouldn't come." Sophia smiled. A real smile this time. "The driver was stuck," Sophia explained. "So I walked." The receptionist looked at Sophia's wet coat. "You walked in this rain? Wow, that is dedication. Thank you so much." She opened one of the boxes. "Oh my gosh, look at these cupcakes. They are beautiful. Did you make these?" Sophia nodded shyly. "Yes, I decorated them." The receptionist looked at Sophia with admiration. "You are an artist. These are amazing. Everyone is going to love them." Sophia left the building 10 minutes later. The rain was still falling, but she didn't feel cold anymore. She felt warm inside. She had faced a challenge: the guard, the missing information, the intimidating building, and she had survived. Not only survived, she had succeeded. She had been complimented. She realized something shifting in her mind. The imposter voice was a little bit quieter. The receptionist didn't care about her accent. She cared about the cupcakes. The guard didn't care about her grammar. He cared about security clearance. Her English was just a tool to get the job done, and the tool worked. As she walked back to the bakery, shaking the rainwater off her coat, Mr. Henderson looked up from the coffee machine. "You made it," he cheered. "The lawyers called. They said the cupcakes were a hit. You saved the day, Sophie." Sophia smiled. For a moment, she felt a warm glow of pride. She had saved the day. She hung up her coat and put her apron back on. But as she started washing the dishes, the glow began to fade. The doubt crept back in, like cold air coming under a door. She started replaying the conversation with the security guard in her head. She thought, "I sounded so nervous. I stuttered. I didn't know the name of the firm. He probably thought I was unprofessional." This is a very common habit among language learners. It is called post-event rumination. It means you replay a memory over and over again, but you edit it. You delete the success, and you zoom in on the mistakes. You forget that you got the badge. You only remember that you felt scared. I want you to catch yourself doing this. Think about a conversation you had recently in English. Are you remembering the connection, or are you remembering the struggle? We need to retrain your brain to remember the victory. Let us practice a grounding phrase for this. When your mind starts to criticize the past, I want you to say this: I did the best I could with the tools I had. Repeat it with me. I did the best I could with the tools I had. And add this one: the outcome was successful. Say it. The outcome was successful. If the communication worked, the English was good enough. As Sophia was scrubbing a baking tray, the back door opened. A young man walked in, wearing a bright yellow raincoat and holding a bicycle helmet. This was Julian. Julian was the new afternoon barista. He had only been working there for a week. Julian was from France, but he had lived in the US for a few years. He was loud, energetic, and he seemed to have no fear at all. "Hello, everyone!" Julian shouted, his voice booming through the small kitchen. "What a day! The rain is trying to drown us, no?" He laughed at his own observation. Sophia looked at him with a mixture of admiration and envy. Julian made mistakes. He had a very strong accent. Sometimes he used the wrong verb tense, but he didn't seem to care. He just kept talking. Julian walked over to the sink where Sophia was working. "Hey, Sophia," he said. "How was the morning shift? Did you survive the zombies?" He meant the tired customers. Sophia nodded quietly. "Yes, it was busy." She turned back to the dishes. She wanted to say more. She wanted to tell him about the cupcakes and the lawyer's office and the scary guard. She wanted to joke with him, but the words felt stuck in her throat. She thought, if I try to tell the story, I will mess it up. I will take too long. He will get bored. So she stayed silent. This is the tragedy of perfectionism. Perfectionism tells you that if you cannot speak perfectly, you should not speak at all. It silences you. It turns you into a ghost in your own life. Julian didn't give up. He started making himself an espresso. "You know," he said, "I had a disaster yesterday. I accidentally told a customer, 'I love you,' instead of 'thank you.'" He burst out laughing. She looked so confused. I was so embarrassed. But hey, at least she smiled. Sophia stopped scrubbing. She looked at him. You said I love you?" she asked. "Yes," Julian laughed again. "It just slipped out. My brain was tired. But it is funny, right? We are human. We make messes." Sophia smiled weakly. She couldn't imagine making a mistake like that and laughing. If she did that, she would want to hide under the counter for a week. But looking at Julian, she realized something important. He was not judging himself. And because he wasn't judging himself, nobody else was judging him either. This brings us to a concept called the spotlight effect. We often think that everyone is walking around with a spotlight pointed at us, watching our every move, waiting for us to make a grammar mistake so they can laugh. But the truth is, everyone has a spotlight pointed at themselves. The customer Julian spoke to wasn't thinking about Julian's English. She was thinking about her coffee, or her job, or the fact that a stranger just told her he loved her. People are self-centered, in a good way. They are not analyzing your grammar. They are just trying to get through their day. Knowing this should make you feel free. You are free to make mistakes because, honestly, most people will forget them in 5 minutes. Let's practice shaking off the fear of judgment. I want you to imagine you just made a big mistake. Maybe you used the wrong word. Instead of saying, "I am stupid," I want you to say, "Oops, that was funny." Try it. Say it with a smile. "Oops, that was funny." And then say, "I am still learning." Repeat, "I am still learning." When you admit you are learning, you take the power away from the mistake. Later that afternoon, there was a lull in the shop. No customers were coming in. Julian was leaning against the counter, scrolling on his phone. He looked up at Sophia. "Hey, Sophia, do you like games?" Sophia looked up from her dough. "Games?" she asked. "Yes, board games, cards, dice, Monopoly," Julian explained. "There is a group of us who meet on Wednesday nights at the pub down the street. We play games and drink soda and talk. It is fun. You should come tonight." Sophia's stomach did a flip. A social gathering? With a group? In a loud pub? That sounded like a speaking exam, not a party. Oh, I don't know, she stammered. I am not very good at games. It doesn't matter, Julian insisted. We have people from everywhere. My friend Kenji is there. He is from Japan. Maria is there. She is from Brazil. And some Americans, too. It is just for fun. Please come. You work too hard. You need to play. Sophia looked at his hopeful face. She wanted to say yes. She was lonely. Her life in Seattle was just work and home. Work and home. She wanted friends. But the fear was so strong. What if I don't understand the rules of the game, she thought. What if they make jokes and I don't get them? What if I sit there in silence and everyone thinks I am weird? She was about to say no. But then she remembered the library. She remembered the books she used to read about brave adventurers. She remembered Arthur, the kind customer. What would Arthur say? He would say, "My dear, a ship in a harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for." She took a deep breath. "Okay," she whispered. "I will come." Julian clapped his hands. "Awesome! We meet at 7 p.m. at the Rusty Anchor. See you there." The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. Sophia was terrified. She almost called the bakery to tell Julian she was sick, but she forced herself to go home, change her clothes, and walk to the pub. The Rusty Anchor was a cozy place with wooden tables and soft yellow light. It smelled of fries and burgers. It was loud. Music was playing, and people were shouting over the noise. Sophia stood at the entrance, clutching her purse. She scanned the room. She saw Julian at a big table in the back, waving his arms and laughing. There were about 6 other people with him. Sophia took a step forward, then another. She felt like she was walking underwater. She reached the table. Julian saw her and jumped up. "Sophia, you came!" He pulled out a chair for her. "Everyone, this is Sophia. She makes the best croissants in the city. She is a magician with flour." Everyone smiled and said, "Hi," or "Hello," or "Welcome." Sophia sat down. She felt her face burning. She folded her hands in her lap to stop them from shaking. Next to her sat a quiet man with glasses. He smiled shyly. "Hi, I am Kenji," he said. "I like your coat." Sophia looked at her coat. It was just a plain blue coat. "Thank you," she said softly. I like your glasses." Kenji beamed. "Thanks. They are new." The conversation at the table was fast. They were talking about movies, about the rain, about their jobs. Sophia couldn't catch everything. It was like watching a tennis match where the ball was invisible. She turned her head left and right, trying to follow. She started to feel that familiar feeling of isolation. "I don't belong here," she thought. "They are all so fluent." But then she started to really listen. She listened to Maria, the girl from Brazil. Maria was telling a story about her dog. "My dog, how you say? He run away?" "No, he ran away yesterday." Maria corrected herself. Nobody stopped her. Nobody corrected her. They just asked, "Did you find him?" Then she listened to Mike, an American guy. Mike was speaking very fast, but he used a lot of filler words. So, I was totally thinking about going, you know? Sophia realized that even native speakers don't speak like textbooks. They pause. They repeat themselves. They use like and and They are not perfect. They are just comfortable. This was a massive realization for Sophia. She had been holding herself to a standard of perfection that even native speakers didn't reach. She realized that fluency isn't about having a dictionary in your head. Fluency is about flow. It is about keeping the river moving, even if there are some rocks in the way. They decided to play a game called Pictionary. In this game, you have to draw a word, and your team has to guess what it is. You don't need to speak perfect English. You just need to draw and shout words. Julian put Sophia on his team. "Okay, Sophia," he said. "You are the artist. We trust you." Sophia stood up. She picked up the marker. She looked at the card. The word was elephant. She smiled. This she could do. She drew a big circle. She drew a long trunk. She drew big ears. "Elephant!" Julian shouted immediately. "Yes!" Sophia shouted back. They high-fived. For the next hour, Sophia forgot about her grammar. She was too busy drawing, guessing, and laughing. When it was her turn to guess, she shouted words without thinking. Car, house, banana, monkey. She wasn't translating from Spanish to English. She was just connecting the image to the English word directly. This is called thinking in English. It happens when you are under pressure or when you are having fun. Your brain stops checking the dictionary and starts using the network. When the game ended, Sophia was out of breath from laughing. She looked around the table. She didn't feel like a ghost anymore. She felt like a person. Kenji turned to her. "You are good at this," he said. "You are very fast." Sophia smiled. "Thank you. I like to draw." Kenji nodded. "Me too. I am studying architecture, but speaking is hard for me. I get nervous." Sophia looked at him with surprise. Kenji seemed so calm. "You get nervous?" she asked. "Yes," Kenji admitted. "Inside, my heart goes boom, 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 but I try to remember that nobody wants me to fail. Everyone wants to have a good time." Sophia realized that Kenji was just like her. He was fighting the same battle. "You are doing great," Sophia told him. And as she said it, she realized she was also talking to herself. At the end of the night, Julian walked Sophia to the bus stop. The rain had stopped, and the air was fresh and clean. "Thank you for coming, Sophia," Julian said. "You are fun. You should come every week." Sophia looked at him. "Thank you, Julian. I had a good time. I was scared at first." Julian nodded. "I know. I saw it in your eyes. But you know, bravery is not being scared. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway." He smiled. "And your English is good, you know. You have a nice accent. It sounds like music." Sophia got on the bus. She sat by the window and watched the city lights pass by. She thought about Julian's words. "Your English sounds like music." She had always thought her accent was a flaw, a stain, something to scrub away. But Julian saw it as music. It changed her perspective. Maybe she didn't need to sound American. Maybe she just needed to sound like Sophia. She pulled out her phone. She had a message from her mother in Spain. "How was your day, daughter?" Usually Sophia would reply, "Fine. Work was hard." But today, she typed, "It was a big day, Mama. I delivered cupcakes to a skyscraper. I played games with new friends. I drew an elephant. I am doing better than I think." She hit send. Tears pricked her eyes, but they were happy tears. She realized that she was climbing the mountain. The fog was still there, but it was lifting. She could see the path, and the path was beautiful. A week after the pub night, the atmosphere at the Morning Crumb was tense. Mr. Henderson was pacing back and forth, wiping the counter even though it was already clean. He turned to the staff. "Okay, everyone, listen up," he said nervously. "Today is the quarterly inspection. The district manager, Ms. Gable, is coming. She is very particular. I need everything perfect. No dust, no mistakes, smiles on everyone's faces." Sophia felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had heard rumors about Ms. Gable. People said she was like a hawk. She saw everything. Sophia checked her station. Her flour was organized. Her tools were clean. She told herself, I will just be quiet. I will work hard. If I don't speak, I can't make a mistake. This is a common defensive strategy: invisibility. We think that if we are invisible, we are safe. But in the real world, you cannot always be invisible. Sometimes, the spotlight finds you whether you want it or not. At 10 a.m., the door opened. It wasn't a customer. It was a woman in a sharp gray suit, holding a clipboard. She had glasses perched on the end of her nose, and a pen clicked ready in her hand. This was Ms. Gable. The bakery went silent. Even the coffee machine seemed to hiss quieter. Mr. Henderson rushed over. "Ms. Gable, welcome. Good to see you." Ms. Gable didn't smile. She just nodded. "Hello, Mr. Henderson. Let's get started. I have a tight schedule." She began walking around the shop, tapping her pen on the clipboard. Tap, tap, tap. She looked at the display case. She looked at the floor. She looked at the trash cans. Sophia kept her head down, focusing intently on kneading dough. Rhythm. Push. Turn. Fold. She tried to disappear into the rhythm. But then the tapping stopped, right in front of Sophia's station. Sophia saw the gray suit out of the corner of her eye. She stopped kneading. She looked up. Ms. Gable was staring at a notebook lying on the counter. It was Sophia's personal notebook, the one where she wrote down new recipes and ideas for flavor combinations. Sophia had left it there by accident. Ms. Gable picked it up with 2 fingers, as if it were dirty. "What is this?" she asked. Her voice was cool and sharp. Sophia wiped her floury hands on her apron. "It is my book," Sophia said softly. "Your book?" Ms. Gable flipped it open. She saw the handwritten notes in Spanish and English. She saw the sketches of cakes. "This is a violation of company policy," Ms. Gable said. "Personal items are not allowed on the prep surface. It is a hygiene risk, and—" She narrowed her eyes at a page. "Are these our proprietary recipes you are writing down? Are you planning to take our recipes to another bakery?" Sophia's blood ran cold. Proprietary? She didn't know that word, but she understood the tone. Ms. Gable was accusing her of stealing secrets. Ms. Gable was accusing her of being a spy. "No!" Sophia said, panic making her voice high. "No, I write my ideas. For Morning Crumb." Ms. Gable looked skeptical. "Your ideas? You are the assistant baker. Your job is to follow the recipes, not invent them. This looks suspicious. I think I need to confiscate this." Ms. Gable made a move to put the notebook in her bag. That notebook contained Sophia's dreams. It had her grandmother's recipe for almond cake. It had the design for the wedding cake she wanted to make one day. If Ms. Gable took it, it would be gone. In that moment, Sophia had a choice. Choice A: be the invisible girl. Let Ms. Gable take the book. Say, "I am sorry," and cry in the bathroom later. Choice B: speak up. Defend herself. Fight the misunderstanding. Sophia looked at Ms. Gable. She looked at Mr. Henderson, who was standing behind Ms. Gable, looking terrified and signaling Sophia to just be quiet. But then Sophia remembered Julian at the pub. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway. She remembered the delivery guard. She realized that Ms. Gable didn't know the truth because Sophia hadn't explained it clearly. The silence was the enemy, not Ms. Gable. Sophia took a breath. She stepped forward. She didn't snatch the book. She used her voice. "Excuse me, Ms. Gable," she said. Her voice was shaking, but it was clear. Miss Gable stopped. She looked at Sophia with surprise. "Yes?" Sophia continued. "There is a misunderstanding. I am not taking recipes. I am, how do you say, brainstorming. I want to help the shop. Please, look at page 10. Sophia pointed. Ms. Gable hesitated, then turned to page 10. There, Sophia had drawn a sketch of a new seasonal pastry, a pumpkin spice croissant. Underneath, she had calculated the cost of ingredients to show it was profitable. "I make this calculation," Sophia said, pointing to the numbers, "to save money. For Mr. Henderson, I practice math, I practice English, I practice baking. This book is my tool, not my secret." Ms. Gable looked at the sketch. She looked at the cost analysis. She looked at Sophia. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. It felt like 5 years. Then Ms. Gable closed the book. She placed it gently back on the counter, but this time on a shelf away from the food. "Brainstorming," Ms. Gable repeated. "A pumpkin spice croissant? That is actually a timely idea. We have been looking for a fall seasonal item." She looked at Sophia with new eyes, not as a risk, but as an asset. "You did this cost analysis yourself?" Sophia nodded. "Yes, I was a head chef in Spain. I know the numbers." Ms. Gable raised an eyebrow. "I see. Well, you are correct about the hygiene rule. Keep the book off the prep table. But keep the ideas coming. I will discuss this with Mr. Henderson." She turned and walked away. Mr. Henderson stared at Sophia with his mouth open. He gave her a tiny thumbs up. Sophia leaned against the counter. Her legs felt like jelly. She had stood up to the dragon lady. And she had won. Let us analyze this interaction. It is a gold mine for learning. Sophia faced a false accusation. She didn't get angry and shout, "You are wrong." She didn't get sad and say, "I am sorry." She used a technique called clarification and redirection. First, she acknowledged the situation. There is a misunderstanding. This is a powerful phrase. It doesn't blame anyone. It just says, the picture is blurry. Let's fix it. Second, she asked the other person to look at evidence. Please, look at page 10. Third, she revealed her background. I was a head chef. She changed the narrative from I am a rule breaker to I am a professional. I want to give you some emergency phrases for moments like this. When you feel misunderstood, do not freeze. Use these phrases to buy time and fix the problem. Phrase number 1. That is not what I meant. Repeat it. That is not what I meant. Phrase number 2. Let me explain it differently. Try it. Let me explain it differently. Phrase number 3. There seems to be some confusion. This is very polite and professional. There seems to be some confusion. Memorize these. They are your shield and your sword. Later that day, Ms. Gable left. The bakery exhaled. Mr. Henderson ran over to Sophia. Sophie, are you crazy? You talked back to the district manager. I almost had a heart attack. But he was smiling. But wow, she liked your idea. She actually liked it. She told me to let you bake a test batch of the pumpkin croissants tomorrow. Sophia smiled. Really? Yes. If they are good, we might put them on the menu. Sophia felt a surge of excitement. This was her chance. She wasn't just the assistant anymore. She was a creator. But with opportunity comes pressure. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the word proprietary. She had guessed what it meant, but she wasn't 100% sure. She decided to look it up. She opened her dictionary app. Proprietary, relating to an owner or ownership, protected by a patent or copyright. She realized how serious the situation had been. Ms. Gable thought she was stealing intellectual property. Sophia realized that vocabulary is not just about passing tests. It is about protecting yourself. If she hadn't found the words to explain, she could have been fired. This motivated her. She realized she needed to learn business English, not to be fancy, but to be safe. She made a decision. She was going to ask Julian for help. The next day, during their break, she sat with Julian. "Julian," she said, "I need to learn harder words. The words for business. The words for fighting." Julian laughed. "Fighting words? You plan to box someone?" Sophia laughed too. "No. Verbal fighting. Defending myself. Yesterday, Ms. Gable used big words. I want to understand them." Julian nodded seriously. "I get it. When I first came here, I signed a lease for my apartment. I didn't understand the word eviction. I was terrified. Learning the scary words takes the power away from them. They made a pact. Every day, they would teach each other one power word, a word that sounded professional and strong. Julian taught her the word negotiable. He explained, "It means we can change the deal. It means you have a choice." Sophia practiced it. "My salary is negotiable. The schedule is negotiable." She loved how it felt in her mouth. It felt like freedom. In return, Sophia taught Julian a Spanish word for endurance. They were building a vocabulary of strength. This brings us to the concept of active agency. Many learners are passive. They wait for the teacher to give them words. They wait for the app to send a notification. But Sophia became active. She identified a gap in her knowledge, and she sought a solution. You must be the CEO of your own learning. Do not wait for English to happen to you. Happen to English. The next morning, Sophia arrived early to bake the pumpkin croissants. She measured the spices carefully. Cinnamon, nutmeg, clove. The smell filled the kitchen. It smelled like autumn. It smelled like home. When Mr. Henderson tasted one, he closed his eyes. "Oh, wow, Sophie, this is the best thing we have." He put them in the display case with a little sign. "Sophia's Pumpkin Spice Special." When the first customer bought one, Sophia watched from the back. The customer took a bite, smiled, and nodded to her friend. "This is amazing," the customer said. Sophia felt a tear roll down her cheek. She wasn't invisible anymore. Her English had allowed her to defend her book. Her book allowed her to share her recipe. Her recipe allowed her to connect with the customer. It was all connected. The language was the bridge to the life she wanted. But just as things were going well, a new character entered the story. A character who would challenge Sophia in a different way. His name was Liam. Liam was a local journalist who wrote for the city food blog. He came into the shop one afternoon, attracted by the rumors of the pumpkin croissant. He was young, hip, and spoke incredibly fast, using a lot of slang. "Yo, let me get one of those viral pastries, yeah? The hype is real?" He pointed at the case. Sophia was at the register. She blinked. "Yo? Hype? Real?" She understood the pointing, so she gave him the croissant. He took a bite and pulled out a notebook. "Dang, that hits the spot. Hey, are you the chef? Can I get a quote for the blog?" A quote for a blog? A public interview? Sophia's panic returned. Speaking to Ms. Gable was one thing. That was private. But speaking for a blog? That would be on the internet. Forever. Liam had his pen ready. "So, what's the inspo behind this flavor profile? Is it a nod to your heritage or just capitalizing on the seasonal trend?" He looked at her, waiting. The question was a jumble of buzzwords. Inspo? Profile? Nod? Capitalizing? Sophia felt the fog descend again. She understood nothing of what he just asked. She looked at Liam. She could smile and nod. She could say, yes, very good, and run away. But she remembered her promise to herself. Trust your progress. She looked Liam in the eye. She decided to control the pace of the conversation. I am sorry, she said confidently. You speak very fast, and you use words I do not know. Can you ask again? Simple words, please? Liam stopped. He looked surprised, then embarrassed. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I talk a mile a minute. He laughed nervously. I meant, where did you get the idea for this recipe? Is it from your country? Sophia smiled. Ah, the idea. She felt the relief wash over her. She could answer that. Yes, it is from my grandmother's spice blend. But the dough, that is French style. It is a mix, like me. Liam wrote that down furiously. A mix, like me. That is gold. That is a great quote. Thank you. He snapped a photo of her and left. Sophia stood at the counter, stunned. She had just given an interview, and she had done it by asking the native speaker to change his English. This is the final lesson of this section. Managing the native speaker. Many learners think the native speaker is the king, and the learner is the servant. The learner must understand everything the king says. No, communication is a two-way street. If the native speaker is mumbling or using slang or speaking too fast, it is okay to ask them to adjust. It is not rude. It is necessary. You have the right to say, please slow down. You have the right to say, I don't know that word. When you do this, you are not showing weakness. You are showing that you care about understanding the conversation. You are taking charge. Let us practice this speed control. I want you to imagine someone is speaking too fast. I want you to stop them politely. Say this. Could you slow down a little bit? I want to catch everything you are saying. Repeat it. Could you slow down a little bit? I want to catch everything you are saying. That second part, I want to catch everything, is a compliment. It tells them you are interested, which makes them happy to slow down. Sophia's quote appeared in the blog the next day. The headline read, A mix like me, the Morning Crumb's new star baker brings Spanish soul to Seattle sweetness. Julian showed it to her on his phone. You are famous, Sophia, he cheered. Sophia looked at her name in print. She looked at the photo of herself, smiling behind the counter. She didn't look scared. She looked proud. She realized that she was doing much better than she thought. She wasn't just surviving in English. She was thriving. She was influencing her workplace, making friends, and sharing her story with the city. But the journey isn't over. Sophia has conquered the workplace. But what about the heart? Even strong people have weak moments. Even successful people have days where they feel small. It was a Tuesday, usually Sophia's favorite day. But today the skies seemed heavier than usual. Sophia was sitting in the break room of the Morning Crumb, holding her phone. Her hands were trembling. She had just finished a video call with her family in Spain. On the screen, she had seen her younger sister, Isabella, crying happy tears. Isabella was engaged. She showed Sophia the ring. She talked about the wedding date. She talked about the dress. Sophia had smiled. She had cheered. She had said, Congratulations! I am so happy. But as soon as the call ended and the screen went black, Sophia felt a wave of crushing sadness. She wasn't sad for her sister. She was sad for herself. She was thousands of miles away. She wouldn't be there to help choose the dress. She wouldn't be there for the engagement dinner. She felt like she was watching a movie of her family's life. But she wasn't in the cast anymore. She felt like a ghost. Mr. Henderson walked into the break room. He saw Sophia staring at the wall. "Hey, Sophie," he said cheerfully. "Did you see the sales numbers? The pumpkin croissants are flying off the shelves. You are a genius." He paused when he saw her face. "Everything okay?" Sophia looked at him. She wanted to explain. She wanted to say, "I am grieving the loss of my daily life with my family. I feel guilty for being here while they are there. I feel torn between my dream and my roots." But those words were too heavy. They were too complex. So she just looked at her shoes and said, "I am okay, just tired." Mr. Henderson nodded uncertainly. "Okay, well, take an extra 10 minutes if you need it." He left. Sophia felt a surge of frustration. Just tired. That was a lie. She wasn't tired. She was heartbroken. But her English felt like a cage. It allowed her to work, but it didn't allow her to feel. This is a very common struggle called emotional muteness. When you speak a second language, you often feel less emotional resonance. You feel like a child because you can only express simple feelings. I am sad. I am happy. I am angry. But adult emotions are a mix. They are bittersweet. They are nostalgic. Being unable to express this nuance makes you feel isolated. Let us practice expanding our emotional vocabulary right now. Instead of saying, "I am sad," I want you to learn the word homesick. It means you miss your home. But let's go deeper. I want you to learn the phrase bittersweet. This is when something is happy and sad at the same time, like Sophia's sister getting married far away. Repeat after me. It is a bittersweet moment. Try it. It is a bittersweet moment. And another one, I feel torn. This means you are pulled in two directions. Say it. I feel torn between two places. These phrases are keys. They unlock the cage. Sophia finished her shift in a robotic daze. She didn't joke with customers. She didn't practice her power words with Julian. She just wanted to go home and hide. But it was Wednesday. Game night at the Rusty Anchor. She had promised Julian and Kenji she would come. She walked to the pub slowly, her feet dragging on the pavement. She thought about canceling. I am not fun today, she thought. I will bring the mood down. I should stay home. But the thought of her empty apartment was worse. She pushed open the heavy wooden door of the pub. The group was there, laughing as usual. Julian was waving a card in the air. Kenji was drinking a soda. They waved when they saw her. "Sophia!" Julian shouted. "Come! We are playing Two Truths and a Lie. You are just in time." Sophia sat down. She tried to smile, but it felt like a mask made of clay. It was heavy and stiff. The game began. It was Julian's turn. "Okay," he said. "1. I have eaten a scorpion. 2. I can play the piano. 3. I once met the President of France." Everyone started guessing. "The scorpion is a lie." "No, the piano." They were laughing. Sophia tried to focus, but the noise of the pub felt overwhelming. The English words were swimming around her head like angry bees. She couldn't catch them. Kenji, the quiet architecture student, noticed. He leaned over. "Sophia?" he asked gently. "Are you okay? You are very quiet today." Sophia looked at him. She looked at Julian, who had stopped laughing, and was looking at her with concern. The mask cracked. Tears welled up in her eyes. She tried to blink them away, but they spilled over. "I am sorry," she whispered. I have to go." She stood up to leave. She didn't want to cry in English. She felt it was embarrassing, but Julian grabbed her hand. Not hard, just a gentle touch on her sleeve. "Sophia, Wait, he said. His voice wasn't loud now. It was soft. You don't have to go. You don't have to play. Just sit. What is wrong? Sophia looked at her friends. She saw worry in their faces. Not judgment. Worry. She took a deep breath. She decided to try. She decided to trust them with her broken English and her broken heart. She sat back down. My sister, Sophia began. Her voice trembled. She get married. No, she is getting married. She corrected her grammar automatically, then hated herself for it. Who cares about grammar now? She is happy. But I am here. She pointed to the table. I am far. I miss everything. She struggled to find the words. I feel like I am bad sister, because I am not there. I feel jealous? Is that bad? I feel happy, but also pain. She touched her chest. It hurts here. The table was silent. Nobody made a joke. Nobody corrected her verb tense. Julian nodded slowly. I understand, he said. When my brother had his baby, I saw it on FaceTime. I felt like I was on the moon, looking at Earth, but I couldn't touch it. Kenji nodded too. Yes, the moon. That is a good description. I missed my grandfather's funeral last year. I was here, taking an exam. I felt guilty. Sophia looked at them. Guilty, she repeated. Yes, guilty. That is the word. She let out a long breath. I feel guilty for my dream. Julian leaned in. Sophia, listen to me. That guilt? It is the tax we pay. We buy a new life, but the tax is missing the old life. It is expensive, but it doesn't mean you are a bad sister. It just means you love them. Sophia let those words sink in. The tax we pay. It was such a perfect metaphor. And he said it in English. And she understood it in English. And she felt comforted in English. This was a breakthrough moment. Sophia realized that she could have deep, meaningful, emotional conversations in her second language. She didn't need poetic words. She just needed honesty. She realized that her friends were not just English practice partners. They were real friends. They shared the same immigrant heart. They shared the experience of living between two worlds. This bond was stronger than grammar. Let us pause and reflect on the power of vulnerability. Vulnerability means showing your weakness. In language learning, we try to hide our weakness. We try to sound smart. But often, true connection happens when we say, I am hurting, or I am confused. If you can share your pain in English, you have reached a very high level of fluency. It is emotional fluency. I want you to practice a sentence for when you need support. Repeat after me. I am having a hard time today. Simple. Try it. I am having a hard time today. And this one. I just need someone to listen. Say it. I just need someone to listen. People will respond to this. Humans are wired to help. The group spent the rest of the night not playing games, but talking. They talked about what they missed. Julian missed the cheese in France. Kenji missed the silence of the temples in Kyoto. Sophia talked about the smell of the ocean in her hometown. They laughed, they sighed, and they connected. Sophia realized that by sharing her sadness, the sadness became lighter. It was like carrying a heavy box, and suddenly 2 other people grabbed the corners to help her carry it. As she walked home that night, she felt different. The situation hadn't changed. Her sister was still far away, but she had changed. She felt less alone. She looked at the city of Seattle. It wasn't just a cold, rainy place anymore. It was a place where she had people who understood her. She realized that home is not just a location on a map. Home is where you are understood. And she was understood here in English. She decided to do something active with her feelings. Instead of just feeling guilty, she would participate. She went to her apartment and opened her sketchbook. She started to design a dress. Not just any dress, a dress for her sister. She sketched ruffles. She sketched lace. She wrote notes in the margins in English and Spanish. Silk for the movement, she wrote. Lace for the tradition. She decided she would design the dress and send the sketches to her sister. She couldn't be there to sew it, but she could be the inspiration. She could send her art. The next day at work, Sophia felt lighter. She was humming while she baked the pumpkin croissants. Mr. Henderson noticed. "You seem better today, Sophie," he said. "Did you get some sleep?" Sophia smiled. "Yes, and I talked to friends. Mr. Henderson, can I ask you something?" Mr. Henderson looked surprised. "Sure." Sophia took a breath. She practiced her new bravery. "I want to send a package to Spain for the wedding. Do you know the best way? It is fragile." Mr. Henderson's face lit up. "Oh, shipping. I am the king of shipping. We ship coffee beans all the time. Bring it in. We can use the company discount. I'll help you pack it so it could survive a bomb blast." Sophia laughed. "Thank you, Mr. Henderson." She realized that people want to help, but they cannot help if you do not ask. She had been suffering in silence, assuming no one cared. But as soon as she opened the door, just a tiny crack, help came flooding in. Julian, Kenji, Mr. Henderson, they were her village. She was building a village in English. Sophia finished her sketch that week. She also bought a beautiful preserved flower from the Pike Place market. A blue flower, for something blue for the wedding. She wrote a letter to her sister. In the letter, she wrote in Spanish, but she added a postscript in English. She wrote, "P.S. I am learning that love travels faster than airplanes. I am with you in spirit, always." She packed the box with Mr. Henderson's help. He used so much bubble wrap that the box looked like a beach ball. They laughed about it. She mailed it. Walking out of the post office, Sophia felt a sense of closure. She hadn't fixed the distance, but she had bridged it. She checked her phone. She had a text from Liam, the food blogger. "Hey, Sophia! The blog post is blowing up. 500 shares. People are asking if you do custom cakes. Can we talk about a follow-up article?" Sophia stared at the screen. Custom cakes? Follow-up article? Her career was accelerating faster than she could have imagined. A few months ago, she was afraid to answer the phone. Now, the city wanted to know her name. But with this new attention came a new fear. A fear of too much. What if I get too busy? What if I can't handle the orders? What if my English isn't good enough for business negotiations? The imposter syndrome tried to sneak back in. But this time, Sophia had a weapon against it. She had her power words. She had her village. And she had her resilience. She texted Liam back. "Hi, Liam. That is great news. I am open to talking. Let's schedule a meeting. My schedule is negotiable." She smiled as she typed the word. Spring had finally arrived in Seattle. The gray clouds had broken apart to reveal a pale blue sky, and the cherry blossom trees were exploding with pink flowers. The Morning Crumb Bakery was busier than ever. People came from all over the city to taste Sophia's Spring Tart, a new recipe featuring lemon and lavender. Sophia was no longer the invisible assistant. She was the head baker. Mr. Henderson had promoted her 2 months ago. She wore a new apron with her name embroidered on it, Sophia, head baker. She wore it like armor. One sunny afternoon, Liam the journalist walked in. He looked excited. "Sophia!" he called out. "Big news! Huge news!" Sophia wiped her hands on a towel and smiled. She wasn't afraid of Liam anymore. "Hello, Liam. Slow down. What is the news?" Liam took a breath. "Okay. The Seattle Food and Culture Festival is next month. It is the biggest event of the year. Thousands of people. They have a Rising Stars stage. I nominated you. They want you to do a live baking demonstration. 30 minutes, on stage, with a microphone." Sophia stopped smiling. The blood drained from her face. A stage? Thousands of people? A microphone? The old panic came rushing back, like a cold wave crashing over her. "Me?" she whispered. "No, no, Liam, I cannot. I bake. I do not speak. My English. It is not for a stage." Liam shook his head. "Sophia, your English is fine. People love your story. They love your passion. You just have to show them how to make the tart. That's it." He left a flyer on the counter. "Think about it. It's a game changer." Sophia stared at the flyer. The letters seemed to scream at her. Live Demo. Rising Stars. She felt the familiar urge to hide. She wanted to run to the back of the kitchen and stay there forever. But then she felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Mr. Henderson. He had heard everything. "Sophie," he said gently, "you have to do this." "I can't," Sophia said, shaking her head. "What if I forget the words? What if I freeze? Everyone will look at me." Mr. Henderson sighed. "Do you remember the day you delivered the cupcakes to the lawyers? You were scared then. Do you remember the day you defended your notebook to Ms. Gable? You were scared then. Every time you were scared, you did it anyway. And every time you got bigger. If you say no to this, you are choosing to stay small. Do you want to stay small?" Sophia looked at him. She looked at her name on her apron. Head baker. Head bakers do not stay small. She took a deep breath. "No," she said firmly, "I do not want to stay small." The next 3 weeks were a blur of preparation. Sophia didn't just practice baking. She practiced speaking. She turned her small apartment into a stage. She used a hairbrush as a microphone. She stood in front of the mirror. "Hello, everyone. Today, we are making a tart." She recorded herself on her phone. When she listened back, she flinched. "My accent is so strong," she thought. "I sound different than the people on TV." She showed the video to Julian. "Is it bad?" she asked anxiously. "Do I sound weird?" Julian listened. He smiled. "Sophia, you sound like you. You sound like a woman from Spain who loves baking. That is your power. Don't try to sound like an American news anchor. Sound like Sophia." This is a crucial lesson. Authenticity over accuracy. When you speak in public, people connect with your personality, not your grammar. If you try to be perfect, you will sound like a robot. If you are yourself, you will sound like a human. People like humans. Let us practice an affirmation for public speaking. I want you to stand up if you can. Put your feet flat on the floor. Say this. My voice is a gift. Say it loud. My voice is a gift. And another one. I have something valuable to share. Believe it. I have something valuable to share. The day of the festival arrived. The park was packed with people. There were food trucks, music, and the smell of frying onions and sweet sugar. Sophia stood backstage at the Rising Stars tent. She was wearing her best chef's coat. Her hands were shaking so much she had to clasp them together. Julian, Kenji, and Mr. Henderson were in the front row, holding a sign that said, "Go Sophia," in big, glittery letters. Seeing them made her smile, but her heart was still hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The announcer walked onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the creator of the famous spring tart, from the morning crumb, Sophia. The crowd clapped. Sophia walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. She couldn't see the faces of the audience clearly, just a sea of shapes. She walked to the table where her ingredients were set up. She reached for the microphone. "Hello?" she said. Her voice boomed through the speakers. It startled her. She jumped a little. The crowd laughed, a friendly laugh. Sophia smiled nervously. "Hello, I am Sophia. I am very nervous." The crowd cheered. Someone shouted, "You got this!" Sophia took a breath. Admitting she was nervous was a trick she learned from Julian. It made the audience on her side. She started to bake. She mixed the flour and the butter. As her hands moved, her brain relaxed. This was baking. She knew baking. She started to explain the process. "You must touch the dough gently," she said, "like you touch a baby bird." It was a strange comparison, but the audience went, "Oh." She continued, "Now we add the lemon. The lemon is the sunshine." She was flowing. She wasn't thinking about grammar rules. She was thinking about the story of the food. But then, disaster struck. She reached for the whisk to beat the eggs, but her hand slipped. The bowl of eggs slid off the table and crashed onto the floor. Splat. Yellow yolk and shell went everywhere. On the stage. On her shoes. Silence fell over the tent. This was Sophia's worst nightmare. A mistake. A mess. In public. She froze. Her brain screamed, "Run! Run away!" She looked at the mess. She looked at the audience. They looked worried for her. She looked at Julian in the front row. He was miming, "It's okay." Sophia remembered the philosophy she had built over the last year. You are doing better than you think. Mistakes are proof you are trying. She stood up straight. She grabbed the microphone. She looked at the crowd and smiled. "Well," she said clearly, "that is gravity." The crowd chuckled. She continued, "In the kitchen, we make messes. Life is messy. English is messy. And eggs are very messy." The crowd laughed louder. They clapped. "But," she said, grabbing a new bowl, "we start again, because the tart must be made." She finished the demo with new eggs. She put the tart in the oven. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. It wasn't polite applause. It was real, enthusiastic applause. They loved her, not because she was perfect, she dropped the eggs, but because she was real. She was resilient. She handled the crisis with humor and grace. That is true fluency. Fluency is not about never falling down. It is about how fast you stand up. After the show, Sophia stepped off the stage. She was sweating, trembling, and covered in flour, but she felt high on adrenaline. Mr. Henderson hugged her. "You were amazing. The egg joke, that was brilliant." Julian high-fived her. "You see? You are a star." As she was wiping her hands, a young woman approached her. She looked shy. She was holding a notebook. "Excuse me," the woman said. She had a heavy accent, perhaps Eastern European. "I saw you. You were so brave." The woman struggled to find the words. "I am new here. I am afraid to speak, but I see you, and I think maybe I can too." Sophia looked at the woman. She saw herself from 2 years ago. The fear, the hesitation, the notebook. Sophia realized that the circle was complete. She was no longer the student. She was the teacher. She was the inspiration. Sophia smiled warmly. She put her hand on the woman's arm. "What is your name?" she asked. "Elena," the woman whispered. "Elena," Sophia said firmly. "You can. It is hard. It is scary. But you are doing better than you think. Trust me." She signed the woman's notebook. She wrote, "Trust your progress." Sophia. Walking home that evening, the sun was setting over Seattle, painting the sky in purple and gold. Sophia walked past the skyscraper where she delivered the cupcakes. She walked past the rusty anchor where she played games. She walked past the library where she studied. Every street corner held a memory of a battle she had fought and won. She realized that her English was not a destination she had reached. It was the road she was walking on. And she loved the road. She took out her phone and called her sister in Spain. "Isabella," she said in Spanish. "I did it. I was on a stage." Then she switched to English. "I spoke to the world, and the world listened." She felt the two halves of her soul, the Spanish half and the English half, finally click together. She wasn't torn anymore. She was whole. She was a bilingual, bicultural, brave woman who could drop eggs and still get a standing ovation. And that is where we leave Sophia. But her story continues in every single one of you. You are Sophia. Every time you open your mouth to speak, you are stepping onto a stage. Every time you make a mistake and keep going, you are winning. You might think you are failing because you don't know a word, or because your accent is strong, but I am here to tell you, that is not failure. That is the sound of growth. I want you to do one final visualization with me. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in the future. Maybe 1 year from now. Imagine you are speaking English easily. You are laughing. You are telling a story. You are helping someone. See that version of yourself. That person is real. That person is waiting for you. You are walking toward them every single day. Do not stop walking. We have covered so much in this series. We learned about invisible progress, how the roots grow before the flowers. We learned about social bravery, playing the game even when you are scared. We learned about clarification, defending yourself with power words. We learned about emotional fluency, sharing your heart, and building a village. And finally, we learned about the stage, being authentic and resilient when the world is watching. These are not just English lessons. These are life lessons. I have a final call to action for you. If this story resonated with you, if you saw yourself in Sophia, please subscribe to English in Fluency. When you subscribe, you are joining a community of brave learners. You are saying yes to your own growth. And I want you to do one more thing. Share this video with a friend. Maybe you know someone who is struggling, someone who feels like they are failing. Send them this story. Tell them, you are doing better than you think. Be the Julian to their Sophia. Be the light for someone else. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is your stage? What is the big goal you are afraid of? Is it a job interview? Is it traveling alone? Is it making a phone call? Write it down. When you name your fear, you take away its power. I will read your comments, and I will be cheering for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for trusting yourself. You are capable. You are resilient. You are doing better than you think. Go out there and make a mess. Go out there and speak. I am Alex. This is English in Fluency. Keep learning. Keep growing. Your future is bright. Goodbye for now.